Okay, well, I'm back with part 2. Part 1, if you check it out, is basically going through the flip through of this book and then talking about the technique that we're about to do, which is these very cool flowers and embossed. Of course, now I can't find one. Here we go. How to emboss the flowers and how to make embossed snowflakes. Had some technical difficulties, but we got it all done pretty much. So enjoy part 2. So I apologize right away for the shadow. It's just not a nice day here. I don't have a lot of light. Free video. No money for lighting at this point. Anyhow, and real life. This is just real life. I think real life. Okay, enough said. Here's what we're making. Foil. This 2 different techniques, but this is basically cut using the Decofoil. I already showed you this, but I want to show you a little bit how brilliantly amazing this foil is. This foil, look at that, shattered, what is it called? I'm getting it mixed up with Eileen. Shattered glass. Okay, rainbow shattered glass, and I really hope they make this in different colors. Right now this is the one they have, but you see it goes from the yellows to the orange, sort of peachy, to the red, to the hot pink, to the purples, to the teal, to the blue. And what's really interesting about it is just how different the pieces end up looking depending where you cut them. So there's a lot of good stuff to be had from this one roll, or one. You get 5 transfer sheets, 6 by 12 inches. So I'm going to be using that for this first one. I'm also going to be using, I decided I'm going to use the word, what did I do? Travel, I think? Travel. And this is Eileen's journaling words. I will link that up again. But we're going to be doing some traveling over Christmas, and I'm going to probably cut out a lot of words, but I'll just do one for this demo to show you. Here's another hot tip on how I store my dies. I like using this little $1.99 pencil case, and then I just put magnetic sheets. I put a ribbon, it's glued to the bottom, and this is how I store my Eileen Hull thinlits. And this way I know what set they come from. For me, for designing, I technically sometimes need to say where the stuff comes from, and then I just have room here to write down which die cuts I have in here. So it's kind of a good way to do it. I don't know. I like it. It's working for me. I seem to have a different system for every set of dies I own. Such is life. I think we all, a lot of us anyway, like to have different organization techniques. Okay. What you need for this, the Easy Cut adhesive. I'm also going to grab some, or I already have some cardstock, but I do want to demo this for you. Let me see if I can find a piece of cardstock. I have a lot of paper. And it doesn't really matter what color the cardstock is because you're not going to see it. And what I did was I made a sandwich of the cardstock, the Easy Cut adhesive, and then the foil. So I'll show you start to finish, just because that way you have a really good idea of exactly what you need to do. So the Easy Cut adhesive comes in, you get 4 pieces, 6 inches by 12 inches. Obviously, I always keep my little scraps because you never know when you're going to want to use them. One of the tips that I like to do, I don't cover my entire piece with the adhesive. I want to leave a little bit of space for me to be able to get my fingers in there. I also have to make sure we're going to use the baby, I am calling this the baby Sizzix, but that'll fit. So I want to make sure that, I can get in here. This is just for ease of demoing. I'm going to show you some of the other pieces I've made, but just fits easily on my table. And again, I'm trying to batch die, so I want to do more maybe than I would normally. So this has got 2 sides of adhesive. I'm going to peel the protective layer off. I'm going to leave myself space around the edges. This is, again, just so that my fingers have somewhere to touch that's not adhesive, because if I get fingerprints here, the foil's not going to stick as well, potentially. Decofoil or Thermoweb also has this handy dandy scraper. Let me get one to show you the packaging. You get 2 of them, Stencil Pal. And one of the things I've really, I mean, they use it, it's to apply the gel onto the stencils, which is really nice, because for those of you who are using spatulas and stuff, it's just nice to scrape through the stencil. It really works that way. I like using it for this as well. One of the things I'm finding is it doesn't damage the foil. If I go to use this, I make sure it's clean, and I go to do this, it's not scratching up my foil. Like you can see, the foil still looks pretty good. So that's also a bonus, although I do usually tend to use my finger for that, but it is a good way to get the adhesive on the back. So now that my adhesive is there, I'm simply going to pull off the other area. So there we go. So now I have these. You can throw them out, or you can use these, and I'll show you, as inky tools, which is a trick Eileen has taught us. So one of the ways I store my foil, and I'm not sure this is the correct way, but again, I'm in mixed media. I do a lot of art journaling. I just put it in a folder. Ooh, look at that glare, but look at all that luscious foil. And I keep my negative pieces, because that way I can always use that on art journal pages to add texture to things, however I need it. But it does ding the foil up a bit, I'm not gonna lie, but again, I'm a mixed media artist, that's okay. So what you don't want to do is what I just did. I wasn't careful, and now look, I've got a bit of a mess, but we'll work with that. So I want to be careful with my foil when I put it on my sheet, and be mindful of where I am placing it. And so what I'm going to do is I am just going to come in and cover that up. So if I want my words to go from one color to the next, to be gradient, like in my snowflakes and stuff, I have to think about which way I'm going to go. So for example, if I go this way and I put my word die cut this way, I'm going to have that gradient. If I go, I guess pretty much either way, because, oh, if I go this way, then I could have the foil all in, or the word all in one color. So let's do both. Let's do one way and let's do the other. So I'm just going to come along, I'm going to put my foil. Now I should have cut a piece bigger than my adhesive, which I managed to do. That was a total fluke. And then I'm just going to come along, and now I am going to get, I do have some dings on my foil. You could see where, because it's been roughly handled. I'll show you the other type of foil I use, and it's a little more. Okay, so now what I can do though, let's fix the dings, because that's still sticky. So I can come in here and I can rub. And anywhere that I have a space is going to end up you see, I've covered that up. How fun. That's kind of a fun technique too. It's to end up covering in the spaces with different colored foil, and it just gives me an extra colors. It's like it's almost purposefully distressed that way. So either way, we have the straight up, happy, well cared for foil, and then we have this piece that I actually kind of like that better with all the extra colors and whatnot. All right, that's what I like to do, show you the correct way and the let's just make mixed media way. So now I'll take my happy piece. This has a little stand, but it doesn't hold really well on this, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. So what I'm going to do is take my die, try and see. I'm sorry if I'm coming in and out of frame. I'm trying to do this and stay in frame. I'm going to take my word, I'm going to place it down on top of my happy shiny. I'm going to make sure that, because remember I have a little bit of space, so I want to make sure my word is actually on the cardstock and I don't end up with it, you know, halfway on, halfway off. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to place it. Then I'm going to take some purple tape. This is another great Thermoweb product, and it just helps keep my word down onto my, so it doesn't shift around. And then, sorry, there's going to be some banging here, or some movement. I'm going to slide this in. Simple, easy peasy. Let's see what we get. Okay, looks like it cut all the way through. There's another hot tip. I can pull this off. If this hasn't cut all the way through, because it's still in the die, I can run it through again like that, and it'll just cut it properly. But usually, because of the sandwich that I have with the extra, you know, you have foil, and then I have a layer of cardstock, and then I have a layer of adhesive, it's usually not a problem for it to cut through. So here's my word. Now what I'm going to do, I have to be careful lifting up the foil with the pokey hole tool. So, but I want to take out these bits. And what I usually do is I look on the other side. On this side of the die, there's all kinds of holes. If I just start poking, I'm going to end up putting, you know, scratching up my foil with the pokey hole tool. So what I want to do is see where I need to punch out. So like between the A, so for example, it's going to be right in here. So there's two ways I can do it. I can either do it this way, or I can remove my letters first, and then it's easier to see. So it just depends. Like with the snowflakes, I find it's easier to leave it in the die and do it because they tend to be very intricate, and it's much easier for me to leave it in the die, like you can see here, and then the shapes are obvious, so I just poke them out. Whereas with this, they're all circles. There's no, I can't tell where the shapes are, so I'd probably pop this out first. And then I can come along and easily get rid of those gaps, and they come out quite nicely. So here's my word. Look how, oh my gosh, don't you love that? So now, why do I put the foil first? Here is why. Okay, sorry, technical difficulties. Had to plug my phone in and figure out a way for the cord not to show. So I prefer covering my foil first and then die cutting. And here's the reason why. You can see that there's no white. There's no white on the edges. It's completely foiled, completely covered. When you layer this, because I've got cardstock, then I have adhesive, then I have foil, what happens if I were to cut this out first, cut the shape out, and then add the foil, this is what tends to happen. You see how my edges are white? And the reason for that is it's not straight. Because I have all the layers, it kind of creates like a bit of a rounded edge. And so when I cut this first and then try to put the foil on top, there's two things. Number one, it just doesn't work as well because the foil doesn't get around to the edges. But number two, this is pretty fragile. If I'm going to take this and then try and rub foil on it, sorry if I shake the camera, but try to rub foil on it, it's just not going to work as well. So I learned that it's better to foil first and then cut, especially with the intricate dies. So that's my hot tip for that. So now I have this fabulous word travel. Just absolutely love that. I can add that to my little kit of adventures. The other thing I wanted to do was to show you the difference. So what we'll do is we'll cut another one. Maybe I'll use a different word just to be, you know, give all the words an equal shot at the publicity, as it were. Okay, let's do the word love. It's nice and short. It'll fit on here quite well. So another thing I want to do is you want to poke these out. If you have them on your die from the last time, I usually put my dies away. I'm pretty good about clearing that out. But the challenge is if you leave that in there, it might not cut as well. And then let's do pink first because, you know, love tends to be think of love, you think of pink, and I'm going to do that. Center it. I'm going to take my purple tape, move these guys out of the way. And just run it through. Yes, you do need a baby Sizzix. I'm just saying. And in case you can't tell, I am watching The Mandalorian, and there's a big hoopla about Baby Yoda, and now everything is going to be called Baby. So this is another fun piece. I can always cut that and use the negative, put it on something to where I have the word love, and then I could just use a piece of bling or something like that for the middle if I wanted. But I tend to keep the pieces. Again, we've decided it's easier to pop this one out first so I don't scratch my foil. And oh, they came out anyway. So now there's my word love. Yay, how much fun is that? Again, oops, sorry. I just love that. I'm not a big blingy metallic person, but I have to say I'm loving this technique. It's great to have a spot. You know, you take a tag or you take a piece of cardstock, like whatever, and you just journal block and you just add a little pop of something. It's kind of good. All right, so the second step, and we'll see if it's going to work, because to make it go from that to this, what I did, the secret magic ingredient was Eileen's Glistening Glass Emboss. And what it does is it coats it, number one, and protects the foil, but it also gives you, you end up with, like, it's a sturdier piece. This is only cardstock and adhesive and foil, so it's a little bit fragile. This is a sturdier piece. So let's add that to this and see what we get. I am back, and I have Eileen Hull's Molten Dimensions Glistening Glass. This is made by Emerald Creek. Eileen has multiple colors, which is fun. I talked about the goldenrod, using that in the last video or in the earlier portion of the video. She also has polished silver. That was one that I used. My favorite, although it's not necessarily a Christmas color, but I love, this is my favorite, is called Aqua Splash. And it's thick and chunky, and it has little white crystals in it. It just, oh, so pretty, pretty, pretty. And then her last two, which we should use some of this too, because this is Snowy White Wonder, and again it's a chunky white. And then the last one for now, I think, is the Black Magic, and that's a black. Let's see, I haven't really played with this one. This one is still, it does still have some chunks. So what makes these unique, the Emerald Creek embossing powder unique, is that they have chunky pieces out of it. And here's a good way to, I started tracking some of my, this is a good hot tip. For example, Seth Apter has a line with them as well. And what I do is I can come in and make these little swatches. So for example, here's a good example. That is the white. Look at that. See how chunky that is? And then here's the goldenrod. And then I added them together and I got like a white, some of that chunky white in there as well. So it's fun to experiment, and I haven't swapped them all out yet. Swatched them out. I think you call it swatching them out. But that gives you an idea of what you can do. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my word love and I'm going to add some of the clear. This is, I'm using Eileen's Clear Blends 2. It's designed to work with these guys because they are a bit chunky. You can get them in Eileen's Etsy shop as well. I'm going to take my very fancy catch-all. You can see this is well loved. This is going to catch my precious so I don't end up wasting any. So what I do is I take a little bit on a piece of foamy and I'm just going to press it into, and you have to be careful because these dies, they are thin. So you do need to be a little bit careful. And I'm going to get some tweezers. I'm just going to hold an edge or any part of it really, edge, and I'm going to cover it with my, try and keep this slightly in frame would be helpful. Okay, I'm going to cover it with that, and then I just tap it off a bit. And I put this somewhere careful where it can't blow away, but also where I don't forget to put it back in the jar. Then technically you should heat your heat gun up first so it's warm, and that will help prevent blowing the powder off. And then all I'm going to do is come in. Ooh, look at that. See how it just... And I want to move it around a little bit. Once it starts to get warm, I can move it around a bit. And all that does is it prevents me from burning the foil, the adhesive, you know, anything else. You do want to be careful. It's hot. See what happened? Okay. Here's what not to do. Look what happened. See, it burned, it melted some of that adhesive away. But I can fix that. It's not a big deal. I could add some of the other embossing. But so you want to be careful. You want to do this fairly quickly, not let it get too hot, because that adhesive, when heated, it's a glue, right? So when it's heated, so I did kind of ding that up a bit. But the rest of it looks great. This is wonderful. I'm teaching you all the things not to do. Yeah. So how can I fix that? Well, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to very carefully take my fancy powder catcher and get that, and then I do like to make sure there's nothing left. I'm going to cap this so I don't knock it over. And then what I'll do is I'll come in with some of the gold to fix that little spot. And all I'll do is take a very little bit, because I just want the edge. That's the only part that got wrecked, kind of. If you can see, and then maybe a little over here. And I'll just put a little bit of the gold. Bonus technique, how to fix it. Now, if there's too much on there, because I'm like, well, I don't really need all of that. I just wanted to cover those two little spots. What I can do is take a paintbrush and just brush off the foil where I don't want it. Of course I brushed off where I do. There we go. Okay, and then I can... There we go. So I've brushed where you can see it where I fixed it. Look at that. It actually, that's kind of cool. Do you have a hair or something here? So I fixed it. So again, we must be careful how we do that. Okay. And then I've taken that off. Okay, that turned out great. I'm really happy with that little fix. Glad I could bring you extra live disasters. So what I'm going to do though, and again, I will batch these afterwards. I'm going to make some more, but for fun, and here was the two samples that are different. So you can see the only thing about this technique is I kind of lose the shattered look a little bit. But again, I'm protecting the foil. I don't know. I like both of them. I have to say, like it, like it. And I'm going to put those somewhere carefully where they don't get ruined. So let's do a second one. I want to show you the technique I did with the flowers. So let's do that. And I wanted to show you another thing I did again, and we'll do that again using a different idea. So this die, it's one of the dies I wanted to add into my repertoire of fun, being my booklet. So this is another these are die cuts from another die that Eileen has had out recently. And this is a house ornament die. How cute is that? And the die comes with the big house ornament that you can make that is dimensional. And then it comes with these little cute tag houses. So I wanted to incorporate those in my book. I'm also going to cut out the house die as well and use that in there somehow. But for now, let's use the little one. I'm going to use a different color foil, and this is a mixed media transfer foil by Rebecca Meyer, and it comes like this, and it's a coppery color, so it's called New Penny. You get 12 sheets, 6 by 6, so that's another fun foil that I have already made. I've already shown you that, I've already shown you how to do the die cut, so I basically did the same technique, and I covered 2 with the copper, and then I did 2 that are just cardstock, straight up cardstock, and I cut them at the same time. One of the things I did was I layered my cardstock on top of this when I die cut it, because I realized we use these plates multiple times and they get scratched. Technically, you're supposed to keep one clean. I always forget. And so the challenge is, if I come on here and I put this on top of my foil, there's a good chance that this is going to be pressed into my foil. So a way to get around that is if I just do that and then I run it through, and now my foil is protected from my dirty, nasty, scratchy plate. Again, I should just keep one plain, but I always forget and I end up using it. So here's what I'm going to show you. This is I just love that look. And Eileen did a very cool video where she made earrings. So I'll try and find that and I'll link that up, and there's more techniques. But basically we're just going to distress the edges, add the clear, and then sprinkle some of the color. Maybe I'll do a different color to show you. And then that will be a fun addition to my book, because what I was thinking is I could take these and turn it into a little booklet, and inside I could put index photos, little tiny index photos, and that might be kind of fun, just a fun thing to do. I did back these on a cardstock, so it's not one-sided, so I put a colored printed cardstock, then my adhesive, then the foil. So same technique as the last time, just using the printed cardstock. So I am going to do another sample of, let's do this. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to use the clear, and then I'm going to add a second color in, just to be crazy. And again, I'm going to be more mindful of not burning my foil, which, I mean, it's kind of good that that happened. That hadn't happened to me the first time. I don't know if I was just in a rush. I was being quicker. I've lost my fancy catch-all. This is the challenge with live videos. Here we go. Where did I put it? I'm going to grab my tweezers. I'll try and get... Okay, take an edge. Do the same thing. I'm just going to pour the glistening glass onto here. Tap that off. Put it to the side. I guess I could do a close-up. Ooh, let's try doing close-ups and see what that looks like. Adventures in camera. Ooh, sorry, shaking. All right. So I've heated up my heat gun, and I'm going to try and be more careful about not burning it. So I think part of it was I went to the side. If I go more from the top, and then the other thing I can do is if I pull my heat gun away, it helps that base cool as I'm doing it. Yeah, that's working out better. And then my foil's just not getting as hot. Okay. I don't want to do too much again because I don't want to burn it. Oh my gosh, how cool is that? Let me see if it's cool. You have to be careful because this is hot and you do want to wait for it to cool off. Okay, let's see. Again, it's kind of hard to see. You see how the molten, it kind of gives it, that's a totally different look than the last one. Okay, I'm going to go Danger Will Robinson, see if I can heat it up a little bit more. about trying, there we go. Try and get more of a glass look to it. Okay, it's starting to bend, so I'm going to stop there. But isn't that interesting? I get a very different look than with the shattered glass. It's more, you know what it is? I figured it out already. This is got some chunk to it as well, so it creates like it's called glistening glass, and so the idea is you're looking through glistening glass, and that's what it's done. So look at the difference in that. How fun is that? And then that's, once it's cool, I really like that. Kind of gives it a little bit of texture, a little bit of dimension. Okay, so now what we can do, let's add to that. And again, I'm risking that same situation of it peeling off, but we'll see. Maybe if because there's a protective coating all over it, it might be all right. And it's cooled nicely. And again, I'll just be careful. So what I think I might do is add, what color should we add? Maybe white to be snowy, make it look a little snowy. That might be fun. Sorry, I keep hitting my camera stand. This is a new layout for me. Okay, I'm going to take some, and I'm just going to edge, let's just put some along the bottom. Seeing how we've turned this into a full-blown playtime zone. And I'm going to take this, I do like to shake it because that way if the chunks have settled, you end up, oh, this could be fun, right? Looks like we've been attacked by a vicious snowstorm. Uh-oh. All right, adventures in arting. I blew out my heat gun. I have no idea how that happened. It's never happened to me before. But I guess live video. So now I have to use, this is just the craft tool, this isn't the embossing one, but this is all I have right now. I can't find my other one. So this will be the slow poke way of embossing. I'll be back. Okay, after the slow-mo heat gun setting, this is what I have. I'm gonna go, this gives a better picture for some reason. So I've got that white chunky snow at the bottom. How fun is that? And I would have liked to have added more embossing, but I don't have a heat gun anymore. I have to go get another one. That is very bizarre. My heat gun's not that old, so I'm clearly not going to recommend that one. I've probably had it a couple of months. I've never in my life had a heat gun blow out on me. It's in a different plug all to itself, so it shouldn't have done that. So anyway. Apparently, yeah, adventures in live video. This is what happens only when you're demoing or doing something live. So there's my cute little house. And I'm going to do the same thing once I'm back to full heat strength. I'll probably do it this way, and then I'll close that up, and maybe I'll make a window. I don't know. But it was just an idea. And the other thing I wanted to do, which I can't do now, is to show you how to do this. But basically all I did was I took Eileen's color blends, which is what she has here, and I rimmed these with the colors that I wanted. I think I decided I wanted to do more of a Christmassy pink, you know, like a berry. This is called Wild Berry. And then you just edge it like that. And then I do the same thing. I take the clear, I add the clear on top, and then as it's heating, I just come in and I sprinkle some of the gold or the silver. And again, that gets this. Here's one using the silver. That was using the silver, and then I glued in some little baubles for berries. The gold, that's what the gold looks like. So apparently that's it for today, because I have to go buy a heat gun. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks to Thermoweb for giving me some of these products to play with. And of course, Eileen Hull for giving me some products to play with, and Emerald Creek. So this is an affiliate sponsored post technically with the products that were given to me. But I love these products and I use them, and that's why I'm on the design team and I love playing with them. Please join Eileen Hull on her fan group. I'm going to link it below, and where we make videos, and she does different techniques twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And you all have a great day. Bye.